welcome to episode 2 of KMV Travel, the podcast. My name's Kelly, and I'm the owner of KMV Travel and the host of this podcast. And I'm here once again with my favorite travel partner, my husband, Pat. Pat, thank you so much for coming on for episode 2.
Hey, Kelly. Thanks for having me back. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Awesome. So we are going to be talking about one of our favorite topics today, cruises. We've been on a number of cruises at this point. We've been on some different cruise lines. And today we're talking about one of our favorite cruise lines, Disney. And we're going to be diving into our favorite ship, the Disney Wish. So Pat, tell us a little bit about what ships you've been on for Disney Cruise Line and, just a little bit of your Disney Cruise Line history.
Sure. So I have not been on that many cruises prior to what our first cruise together in like 2019. So my cruise history is fairly recent, but we have definitely packed in a lot of cruises in that short period of time. I think we've been on the Wish 3 times now. We've been on the Magic at least once or twice. I don't have them written down. I'm not exactly positive. But then we were also on the Dream. Was it the Dream
Mm-hmm.
in the British Isles cruise? Which was definitely something that was really fun and enjoyable. But and then we've also done the Allure of the Sea on Royal Caribbean.
Yeah, you got it all. You hit them all. So I have done a couple without you prior to us getting together. So my family went on our first cruise when I think I was 10 years old. And we did Disney Cruise Line. We were on the Magic. So back at that point, there was just the Magic and the Wonder. And we had the best time. We did a 7-night cruise with, multi-generational, my grandparents, parents, and us. And we fell in love with Disney Cruise Line. And then we had the opportunity to go with my brother and sister-in-law, Pat and I, and we went. And that was your first cruise, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
Okay. So yeah, so we had that opportunity. We did the Magic, which I think is a great ship for a first cruise, but I think any Disney cruise ship is a great ship for a first cruise. But today we're going to talk about the newest ship that will soon be replaced as the newest. This one we're going to talk about is the Wish. So I have a few just kind of like basics, but we're going to go through all the different spaces, just all the information that you would need if you're thinking about going on the Wish for a trip. So some basics as we start out. When you hear us talk about the Disney Wish, it's a part of a class of ships. So Disney right now has 3 different classes of ships. There's the Magic and the Wonder, which is the Magic class. Then there is the Dream class, which is the Dream and the Fantasy. And then there's the Triton, or now kind of known as the Wish class. And that's the Wish, the Treasure, and the Disney Destiny. I wrote Disney Adventure, and the Disney Adventure is actually the one that's going to be over in Asia. So yeah, there's lots going on with Disney Cruise Line. But when we talk about the classes, really what it's going to be is those are kind of like sister ships. So when we look at the Wish and the Treasure, they're going to be laid out very similarly, but the spaces are going to be different. So the Wish came out in 2022, had its maiden voyage, and it's the 5th ship for Disney Cruise Line. And soon the Treasure will be coming out in 2024, and then the Disney Destiny in 2025. Pat, do you want to go over a little bit of what the staterooms, how many staterooms there are, size of the ship, and things like that?
Sure. Yeah, the stateroom count for the ship is 1,250, and oddly enough, the capacity is 5,555. Nice round number there. Not really sure how that works out, but that's the number that they have posted there. And then I think that a lot of times when you get on these ships, you don't think about how many members of the crew are actually on board, but the Wish does have 1,555 available spaces for crew members. So definitely a lot of people go into making your cruising experience as great as it is. So always good to keep in mind just how many people are behind the scenes making your trip magical.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible when you think of the size of these ships, and the number of people that are on these ships and live on the ships. And I think that's where they get to that like five, that not round, even number, because there are people that have, there's one occupancy for one single occupancy versus double occupancy or things like that. But of course, being a Disney ship, there has to be some different Disney magic. So every Disney cruise line ship has a stern character as well as an atrium statue. So for the Wish, the stern character is Rapunzel and Pascal. And actually, really cool if you go into Arendelle, one of the main dining locations, and you go all the way to the edge of the ship there. If you look out the windows, you're able to see Rapunzel, and Rapunzel is huge. She is like, it's a really cool sight to see. So I recommend doing it.
I did look that up because I did want to mention how giant it is. It's 9 feet tall and it's about 30 feet wide. So it is
Yeah.
colossal. You can see it from pretty far away.
Yeah, it's really cool. She's like painting the ship. And then there's an atrium a statue in each of the ships. So for the Wish, because it's the Wish, obviously all about making dreams come true. It's Cinderella, but Cinderella also has a few little friends with her. So there's Lucifer, Jacques, and Gus Gus. Which if you get a chance to go on the Wish, take some time to just kind of look around that statue because you see Cinderella very easily, but you kind of have to look around to find the other pieces that are with her too. All right, so the Wish will sail from Port Canaveral, and there's different types of cruises that they do. So, Pat, do you want to go into a little bit about what are those different types of cruises?
Yeah, so right now, as Kelly said, right now they are sailing from Port Canaveral, which is really a port that they've kind of gone all in on, and they have like a full-time uh what is the word I'm looking for? Not gate, but they have a
Yeah,
full-time port,
terminal. Yeah,
yeah, terminal there.
yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a little bit more fun going out of Port Canaveral too. Everything feels a little bit more Disney before you get on the ship. So definitely recommend going from Port Canaveral if you get the chance. And as I said, right now it is going out of Port Canaveral exclusively. Right now they're doing 3 and 4 night cruises with a couple of different itineraries through the Bahamas. And then in addition to that, right now there's also two different themed cruises that are happening. One is the Very Maritime cruises, which would be the Christmas cruises. And then Halloween on the high seas cruises as well. So, and I don't have the dates in front of me, but I would assume that they run like a month before and after the holiday that they're surrounding. So, we've done. I don't. We haven't done the Halloween on the high seas on the Wish. We've done something similar on the Magic,
Yeah,
which
no,
was
we did do Halloween on the high seas on the Wish. That was our first one that we did. So they'll run basically prior to the holiday. So it'll kind of be like the end of September leading into October up until October when we have Halloween, and then Christmas time, the Very Merry cruises are going to be right after that. So if you're in that cruise that kind of like goes over those two dates, you actually get to see a little bit of both. So that's something to check out. But yes, we did do Halloween on the High Seas on the Wish, and we did Very Merry Time Magic. That was, I think, that might have been your first one, actually.
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, awesome. So we were, as we're talking about what we did, we've sailed. I've sailed on the Wish 3 times, and I think Pat, you sailed twice because one of them I did a sister cruise with my sister for our birthdays. So November 2022 was our first one, and we did a 4 night cruise. And then we sailed in March 2023. That was a 3 night cruise. And then I did June 2023, a 3 night cruise. Um, what are your overall thoughts on the Wish, having, comparing it to the Dream, the Magic, and just in general with cruising?
Yeah, I think that one of the first things is that um, and I think that the staterooms were really, really beautiful. For, this is a brand new ship, you kind of would expect that, but it was probably even a little bit nicer than I was expecting the staterooms to be. Um, and I think that Some of the layout might be a little bit confusing for some people if you're really used to some of the older layouts of the Disney ships, but we really liked the way they were laid out. I think that it was a really good use of a lot of the space on the ship. And one of the things I really liked is that there are a lot of like bars and places to get drinks, and unlike some of the other ships, it's not centralized. So there are different places that kind of not force you to, but forced us to walk around the ship a little bit more than we might have otherwise, because it wasn't like all of the adult areas are on deck 3 aft, so you kind of hang out in that area. We really did kind of walk all around the ship and check out really everything there was, and that was kind of a result of how things were not all centralized if they were the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and that is where we really liked the ship layout. That's one of the biggest complaints that people have about the Wish, is that it's kind of spread out in terms of the way that things are laid out. If you've been on the Magic before, or the Dream, Wonder, Fantasy, those classes, you'll, like Pat saying, you kind of have that area that is specific to, it's your adult area. Some people really like that because it means that there's not like children running by, the entrance to that lounge or things like that, because that's kind of segregated out so that that doesn't happen. I feel like we really enjoyed the Wish because you almost felt like you were like stumbling upon new places. Of course, you have the map, you can go and you can look at where they were, but especially like our first couple times on the ship, I think we were still just kind of learning the layout of it, so it was like, oh, I totally forgot that
Right.
Keg and Compass is right here. So that was fun, and they're just always, there's so many spaces, and it's so highly themed spaces too.
Yeah, and having the spaces separated allows them to theme them a little bit better. On some of the ships, you might have 3 bars that are kind of all together as one, and the theming doesn't really like they're not really
Mm.
themed all that well as individual things. As like one group, they're themed well, but you'll get a very distinct vibe and theming in each of the places on the Wish. Everything is themed very differently, and it's very distinct from every other one.
Yeah, I almost was gonna say, I thought you were gonna go the opposite direction with that. Whereas like when I look at the Dream, the way that it's set up with the bars and lounges that there are for the adults, you kind of have this like central location, which they do, some live music in there. There's a bar, and then it like juts off into 3 separate bars. So you have like the champagne bar, which is pink, and it feels very pink, very very feminine kind of. You have the Skyline bar, which is similar to, if you listen to our first episode when we talked about what's in Hotel New York, in Disneyland Paris, that bar. So it's a martini bar, so kind of more like upscale. And then you have their pub, which I can't remember the name of their pub right now. But it's a year, I feel like. But they're very, to me, I was thinking we're going to go, they're very distinct. They kind of don't have, there's no like flow to them in terms of their
Yeah,
theming, even
pub
though
si
they're all right there.
pub 687 is the name of the pub in there.
687. Yes, okay, thank you. But yeah, so we could go on, we'll do another episode, I'm sure, about the Dream and the Magic, but overall, what are, if you had to give a rating out of 5 for the Wish, what's your rating?
In terms of how well it's themed, just the
Just
locations in general.
overall, just in general, the whole ship. Yeah.
I give it like a 4.5 out of 5. I mean, nothing is going to be totally perfect, and there's always room for improvement. But I really liked going on the Wish. I felt like I got what I was expecting. A state-of-the-art ship that was themed really well, had good dining experiences, had a lot of fun activities to do, and it met all of those expectations. There are a couple of small things that I would love to see slightly changed, but not enough to like knock it down more than half a point. How would you rate The Wish?
Oh, I knew that you were going to say 4.5 because nothing can be perfect. So I had to laugh at that. But I agree. I think that depending on what you're looking for from a ship and everything, The Wish definitely for me is close to a five. I think there's some elements, and we'll talk about the elements that I think there's room for improvement, but it's probably as close to a five as you could get of all the ships I've been on at this
Well,
point.
hopefully there will be a 5 coming out very soon
Yes.
when they launch Disney Treasure.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into just a little bit of like high level information about what's included in your cruise with Disney Cruise because it is different from other cruise lines. So what's included with Disney Cruise Line is all of your meals and snacks, excluding any specialty experiences or adult dining, as well as alcohol. Um, 24-hour room service. This is big. We love the 24-hour room service. One of our favorite things about cruising with Disney is taking advantage of this room service. All you care to enjoy is soft drinks and ice cream, which is nice. That's different than some other cruise lines. This is basically on the pool deck. There's going to be an area that has soft drinks, tea, coffee that you can get throughout the entire cruise. Whereas other cruise lines, that's something that you'd pay for. Live performances and character sightings, gym facilities, pools, water slides, hot tubs, all of the youth clubs, so the kids and teens clubs, ages 3 and up, and Castaway Key, beaches and restaurants if you do stop there. So all of the Wish cruises right now are stopping at Castaway. What's not included is tips and gratuity. You can add those on in advance. Travel insurance, alcoholic beverages, and there is not a drink package. Specialty and adult dining, onboard tastings, bar snacks, castaway recreation and alcohol, spa services, childcare under 3 years of age. So that would be for the nursery, as well as bingo. So those are kind of the additional pieces. If you're looking at a Disney cruise and you're kind of comparing it to another cruise line, you're definitely going to see that the price is going to be more kind of the starting, what the package price is going to be for Disney is going to be higher. But what I would say is look into how much is it going to be to add on additional dining or things like that. Because from our experience, you kind of pay later on with other cruises. That's not to say like Disney is more expensive than other cruise lines. But just think about like, are you going to wind up spending more because you're going to add on specialty dining, you're going to add on these other recreational experiences, things like that, that might be included in a Disney cruise. So that kind of helps to just kind of put that all in focus there. But let's get back to the Wish specifically. Pat, you talked about the staterooms. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the different staterooms are and what stateroom we've done? And I can jump in with that too.
Yeah, I can start. So I have only stayed in a veranda, so I don't have a full view of all of the different types of staterooms, but I can kind of go through how ours was set up, and I think a lot of the interior parts of the stateroom are pretty similar across all different kinds, so I can kind of touch through those. First, the bathroom, will start there. One of the nice things about the Disney ships is they split actually between like the area where your shower is and there's more of like a water closet so that you can use both of those at the same time rather than having someone fight through the bathroom while they're trying to shower or get ready for the night, which is really helpful just because you are on a cruise ship, you do have limited space available. Being able to utilize both places is really helpful. And then moving out, ours had a queen bed, and I believe that most come with queen bed, and then that stuff. I don't know as much about this as you do.
No, yeah. I think you did a great a great overview of kind of that entry area. And so like Pat said, you're going to have kind of the bathrooms are going to be on your left or your right. And then you'll have on that opposite wall is going to be a closet. And it's two closets really. And like Pat said, we've stayed on the Wish, we've only done veranda rooms. We've been very lucky that that's what we've gotten to do, but there are ocean view rooms. So that would be where you don't kind of have that extended area outdoors, and then inside rooms as well as concierge rooms. So they'll all be a little bit different, but this is kind of generally the space that you'll have. So you'll have those closets there. As you move on into the room, you'll have that queen size bed that Pat was talking about. Um, you'll have a nice big TV right across from the queen size bed. And then as you move further along, you will have a couch there. And then across from the couch is going to be kind of like your like where you can get ready, like it's like a desk, but you can also use it for like, you know, doing makeup, your hair, whatever. And if you have a veranda, past that point is going to be where the veranda is. If you have an ocean view room, then you're going to have that porthole there. And the concierge rooms are all going to be a little bit different. There's a lot of different options for concierge rooms. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would highly recommend reaching out to us at KMV Travel so we can talk through those options with you, because there's lots of different ones for the Wish, especially including the concierge Wish Tower Suite, which literally is a tower within one of the smokestacks there. So yeah, it's just insane when you see these rooms. It's really, really cool. So there are also different types of ocean view rooms as well as veranda rooms. So for us, Pat and I, usually it's just us in the room. So we can kind of get away with just doing the regular ocean view with veranda versus doing the deluxe family ocean view with veranda. The family ocean view with veranda is going to give you more space. It can also fit up to 5 people usually. So that does depend on each stateroom. So it's not like a normal hotel where it's kind of like you have your standard room that's going to be 2 you know, queen beds. These staterooms are going to be different depending on the stateroom that you select, and you do have the option to select a specific stateroom. So did I cover everything there, Pat? Is there anything else you thought about?
I think so, but I don't think that are there any staterooms that are just 2 standard queen beds like that? I don't, it's gonna be a bed and a pull-out couch, right?
Yeah, yep, exactly. So that you have that pull-out couch, or it might be basically like a Murphy bed that you have that comes out. There's also ones that come down from the ceiling. So this is where it's nice to work with someone who has experience with the cruises, because they can kind of go through and determine what's going to be the best option for you. And they do connecting rooms. So like my parents are going on a cruise with us in 2025. We made sure that we have rooms right next to each other that are connecting, so we can kind of have our own space. But we can also just open that connecting door if it's something that we want to do, you know, to shout in and say, hey, when are we going for breakfast or whatever it may be. So that I think is everything on the rooms. Anything I missed?
No, just, I mean, just the veranda part of it. We did have a nice large balcony, as veranda would imply. So that's always a nice add-on if you're able to do that. And we do like to sit out on the balcony and have our coffee in the morning, which we get free room service included with Disney ships. So highly recommend, if you do have a veranda, you take advantage of that.
Yeah, that is definitely like pro tip. Not number one that we're going to talk about is take advantage of the room service. So breakfast, and we'll get into dining next. You're going to be able to go up to Marceline Market at the Wish, which is going to be like a food hall, kind of buffet style. You can do that, or you can basically you're going to get a card that's going to be in the drawer in your room at that like desk area that you can fill out, and it's a continental breakfast, so you can put, you know, what time you want it to be dropped off. You put it on your door the night before, and then that is like our wake up call every day. We wait for them to knock on our door, they bring in our coffee, and we take it and we go and drink our coffee and tea out on the veranda. So we do that, and then we also go to Marceline Market, because isn't a cruise all about eating, right? So
Yeah, and you can go up as many times as you want as long as they're open. So take advantage of it.
yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get into dining. And I was going to talk about our main dining locations first, but let's talk about Marceline Market a little bit more, because we're kind of on that topic already. So Marceline Market is named for Walt Disney's hometown, Marceline in Missouri. And it's a little bit different than Cabanas if you've been on the Magic Wonder Dream or Fantasy, whereas that's really more set up as like a traditional buffet. Marceline Market is set up more as like a food hall. So there's going to be 10 different food stalls. And they're all inspired by different Disney movies. So there's like Alice in Wonderland, Ratatouille, Tangled, all different things like that. But it feels very like loft in New York. Like that's kind of the look of it. And food is from all over, different cuisines throughout both breakfast and lunch. Um, I did see as I was doing some research that there was supposed to be an offering for dinner where they would basically do table service in Marceline Market. We've never experienced that, right, Pat? You don't remember that being an option.
No, not when we
Okay.
were on.
Yeah. So if that I did see that, so I just wanted to mention it that might be an option on some cruises. But specifically for the ones that we've been on, for the three of them, I haven't seen that as an option. Usually this is open for breakfast and lunch, and it's going to be more like casual dining. So, Pat, any thoughts on Marceline Market? What was your take on it, especially like in comparison to Cabanas?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I didn't hold Cabanas in such high regard as everyone else did. But I thought that the food options were definitely a little bit different and good. I mean, I do like the different food stalls, and it is probably good to note that like Marceline Market, it's on deck 11, and it wraps all the way around the back of the ship in like a horseshoe shape, so you can come in and out on different sides. Um, but I think that the food was really good. I mean, they're making mass quantities of breakfast food. I don't know what could be wrong with that. Um, but yeah, we had a lot to eat. I felt like there were some days there were different offerings than others because we got some sort of an egg sandwich, and I can't remember exactly what it was because it was pretty early. And then we went back the next day and it wasn't there again. So definitely check it out every day and see what different food offerings there are on that particular day.
Yeah, that's a good point that there's lots of different offerings and how large it is because like you're saying it is like that horseshoe. So go in and like take a walk first. I feel like I'm so bad at that. Like I'm like, oh, there's eggs, like, and I just go right to the first thing, and then I go back and I'm like, oh, why didn't I go and get all of that? And then I wind up overeating. But it's a cruise. This
It's
is what we're supposed to
vacation.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but the other part that is also in Marceline Market, which is a little bit different if you've been to Cabanas before, is there is a coffee bar in there too. So there will be, the coffee and tea that you can get that's included, and Marceline Market's not an additional cost. That's all included in your cruise. Um, but if you want a specialty coffee, cappuccino or anything like that, there is this cafe in there that you can go to, which is actually the area that we always wind up sitting in because it's always the least busy area of like seating. And you can get your coffee there. That would be an additional cost. So just be aware of that. That would just be like taking your key that you'll have for your room, and they'll basically just charge it to your room or you'll give their room number. And another pro tip that we're gonna have to share is the coffee card. Um, the coffee card is like the best thing ever. You get a coffee card, and basically, you get stamps every time you get a coffee. And once you've hit, I think it might be six coffees or something like that, then you get a free drink. So something to get. And if you have old ones, I bring them back on. I'm not sure if you're really supposed to do that, but they've never said
It's
anything to
it
us.
says on a single cruise on the card, but they're
Oh,
just
does it?
checking
Okay.
it off. Yeah. I think that if you come back on a second cruise, they're more than happy to honor whatever coffee you've earned already.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, you shouldn't do it, but you can try it and see. Just don't tell them that we told you. All right. So let's go on to the other quick service options that we have, or the non-main dining. So the next option would be Mickey and Friends Festival of Foods. So this is going to be on deck 11, which is the pool deck, same deck that Marceline Market is on. And this is basically like just quick service windows that you can walk up to and order food. And this usually opens around lunchtime and goes through dinner time. It's not going to be open super late, but there will be one of them that is normally open till midnight. So Pat, do you want to go through what the different food quick service locations are?
Sure, I'll go through the ones I can remember. I know that there is a nice little ice cream stand where you can get ice cream at most hours of the day, which is definitely great for kids. Um, then there is the pizza window, right? Well,
Yeah. So the pizza window, and these are really cute because they're all kind of it's Mickey and Friends Festival of Foods. So it's going to be the Mickey's Friends, right? So it's Mickey's Smokestack Barbecue is the first one. Donald's Cantina, Daisy's Pizza Pies, Goopy's Grill, and Sweet Minnie's Ice Cream. So I was going to say Daisy because Daisy's my favorite, but Donald's Cantina is our favorite by far. It is like a basically almost like you're making your own Chipotle. Like you have burrito bowls, or you can make a full burrito or tacos. And just the food is honestly so good. I think we wind up going there like multiple times a day,
yeah,
which is
probably too many
bad.
times.
Yeah.
I mean, the food is really good, and I mean, I've been on cruises before where I think that some of the food up on this deck that is just available most of the day is better than some of the dining services that we've been on. So,
Yeah.
um, to get this is basically all you can eat as well is pretty incredible because, like we said, the food is all really good. I don't think I had a single thing up on that deck that I didn't like.
Yeah, definitely. And we have made sure that we've tried everything out so we can give good reviews. But Daisy's Pizza Pies is usually the one that's going to be open later on. So if that's something that you need something later on in the evening, that's usually open till about midnight, and then you can always take advantage of that 24-hour room service as well. All right, so those are going to be our two kind of like quick service. They're included in the cost of your cruise dining locations. The other ones that are going to be included in the cost of your cruise are going to be our main dining locations. So main dining is something that every cruiser is going to be able to take advantage of. And Disney created something called rotational dining. This is part of what they've really kind of revolutionized in the cruise industry, but it allows you to basically rotate between all the main dining locations. And with each of those main dining locations that you rotate through, your serving staff will go with you. So your team that you have. So we had some really great servers that have continued on with us throughout, all of our different restaurants, and we will request them when we go back because we have such great experiences with them. Um,
Yeah, and
Sean
they
was,
can. Oh, I'm
or
sorry.
no,
They can.
Shane. It was Shane.
Shane.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
and some of these cast members can really like. You're gonna have a good time regardless of who you have as a waiter or waitress, but some of these cast members go really above and beyond, and just make the experience so much better than what it normally is. And I think that's something that definitely stands out on the Disney Cruise Line, just in general, that the staff is phenomenal, especially the food staff. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The crew members are amazing on Disney Cruise Line. And I don't know, but like they're just so excited for your cruise. And they become a part of the experience each night when you go in to have your dinner. Um, so let's talk about the different locations that we have. Well, actually, before we get into that, this is a big question that I get a lot with my families that are going on cruises is when will I know what my dining rotation is going to be? Because not every single family will start at Arendelle. It's going to basically be there's three different locations, and each of those locations is going to be filled with a third of the ship. There will also be two different dining times. So you have main dining, which is going to be around 5:45, and then you have second dining or second seating, which would be like 8:15. So that's kind of how they split you up. And depending if you're main dining, you'll go to the show after your dinner. If you're second dining, you go to the show before. So that's kind of how they make sure that, you know, you have a cruise of 4,000 people. It's not like 4,000 people are going to get dinner at the same time. And this works out really, really well. So that's really nice to have. But you won't know what your dining um, schedule is going to be until you get on the ship. You will request if you want to be in main dining or second seating, but you won't know like, hey, I'm going to start at Arendelle and then I'm going to 1923 and then Worlds of Marvel. So just something to think about. But you always, if you do have questions about your dining or you want to make changes to your dining schedule, you can go to Luna, which is one of the lounges on Wish on your embarkation day. So your day that you get on, they open around 1 o'clock. And you can see if you can make a request to be changed to another dining location or, you know, whatever that may be. But lots of information there. This is going to be your dinner that you'll go to each night that's included in your cruise. And then one of these locations will be open for breakfast and lunch each day as well. All right. So Pat, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about 1923. Talk about like kind of like what it is, you know, what's the theming, all that, and what your thoughts were on it when we went.
Sure. Yeah. So 1923 is a steakhouse, and it's named after the year Walt Disney Company was founded. It celebrates the golden age of animation. There's actually two dining rooms. It's split between the Walt and the Roy rooms, and obviously Walt and Roy Disney. It is California inspired, and it's the only dining option here that for main dining that doesn't have live entertainment. So you really do just, you know, you go in there and you eat rather than have the shows that are built into Arendelle and Worlds of Marvel.
Yeah, it's much more kind of I don't know this probably isn't the best way to put it, but feels like a much more kind of like mature dining experience than maybe Arendelle or Worlds of Marvel does.
Yeah.
And that being said, I honestly love Arendelle. That's probably one of my favorite dining experiences that I've ever had with Disney. But 1923, that's kind of like, okay, this is like your quote unquote formal night. That feeling. That being said, there is no formal night on a 3 and 4 night cruise, so you don't need to worry about that. Dress code for the main dining is just going to be, you know, you don't want to come in your bathing suit, but you can go in, you know, in a shirt and shorts if you'd like to. You'll see all different ranges in terms of how people are dressed. We usually like to get dressed up a little bit, like while we're a dress or something, but nothing that's crazy.
Yeah, nothing too fancy. We do see people that do come in full cocktail attire, which definitely don't feel like you have to do that. So if you see people heading to dining in that, don't feel like that is required because it is absolutely not.
Yeah. All right. And our dog Anakin is playing with squeaky toys. So excuse me that if you can hear it. But let's go on to our next main dining location, which is Arendelle, a frozen dining adventure. Like I said, I love this one. It's inspired by Frozen, and it's basically that you're being welcomed to a celebration of the marriage of Anna and Kristoff, being thrown by Oaken from Wandering Okens. So there are live performances that take place in this, and there's basically the way that this is going to be set up. There's one dining room, so it's not like 1923 where you have Roy and you have Waltz. This is going to be one large dining room. There's a big stage in the middle, and it starts out with they're like traveling singers basically, or musicians that come in and they start to do some songs. Some of the best performances that we have seen on like a cruise ship was these performers. So good. And we've sat in different locations in here and we've always had a really good view. I know some people will say that they sitting in the back, they're not able to see as much. We've been kind of all over and we've always had a pretty good view of it. But they'll kind of have some songs that they sing. And then Elsa, Anna, Kristoff, and Olaf will come out and they'll have some performances. And the characters will walk around. It's really not like if you've been to a Walt Disney World or Disneyland character dining experience is not going to be like that, where they kind of stand at your table and take pictures and things. They're just kind of walking around greeting you as a guest. And then the menu is Norwegian inspired food. So I think this is one of the best menus that they have. More fish heavy, but if you don't like fish, or you're like, oh gosh, I just want chicken nuggets, just ask for chicken nuggets. That's one of the best things about being on a cruise is they're going to be able to basically accommodate most things that you ask for.
Yeah, I really liked the menu here. It was one of my favorite meals that we had on really any of the Disney ships. It was very, very good. And I also went in not really expecting to enjoy it too much, just from like the live entertainment portion of it. I'm not a huge Frozen person, so I was kind of going in with very low expectations, and I've got to say, was blown away by how good it was. I forget what the character's name is that goes around going, yoo-hoo. What's his name?
Pumpkin.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Ogun, he's very entertaining, and I hope that they give that guy a lot of money so he stays on the ship forever, because he was very, very good at his role. Um, yeah, and then I don't know if you mentioned that it's an animatronic Olaf, which was really cool to see, because Olaf is not a character you want to see, like, I guess, like a person playing Olaf. I'd much rather see an animatronic of him,
This
and
is
he
the
was
real
so good.
Olaf. I don't know what you're saying. This is the real Olaf. Don't ruin it for me. Don't ruin the magic, Pat. All right. So, but yes, I agree. The way that they've done it, it's like they don't worry. It's not like they cut corners because it's a ship that you're on. It's still the same kind of level of Disney entertainment and Imagineering that you would get on land. You're just now on a ship. Um, so yeah, I agree. I really love that one. And we should say too, when you're at dinner, the way that it kind of works is you do get several different courses. So you'll have kind of your appetizer course, then your main course, your entree, and then you'll have your dessert. And you'll also, be able to order a soft drink, tea, whatever it may be, and that's all included in your cost. So there's no additional cost there. You can order, an alcoholic drink or something like that. That would be an additional cost, and it's going to be the same as if you go and order something from a bar. You're just going to give your room number, and they'll just charge it to your folio.
Yeah, and it's also, don't don't stress about ordering the one thing that you think sounds the best. They do usually let you order multiple things. Like, I ordered multiple appetizers here because I couldn't decide. Best choice ever. Again, it's vacation as much as you can. But yeah, they're usually really accommodating, and I've never had any issues with ordering like multiple things off of the menu before. So yeah.
Yeah, and as you were saying that, I was thinking it's usually like an appetizer, a super salad,
Hmm.
your entree, and dessert. I usually wind up not ordering. I order like the appetizer or the super salad or whatever. But yes, you will see people that they're like, well, I just want to try one of each, and like you can do that. You just ask, and they'll accommodate that. So awesome. So the last main dining location that we have is Worlds of Marvel. And I think this is the one that people are kind of the most hesitant with. So you have basically you walk into this Worlds of Marvel, and it's this like very steely looking area, blue lights, like all these things. I think it looks super cool. And you walk in, and you're going to be in a large dining room, like kind of it's kind of like an amalgamation of 1923 and Arendelle setup where you can't see everyone. So Arendelle, you can kind of see all the other guests. And this one, you're going to kind of be broken up into a smaller room. So with this, Ant-Man and the Wasp are basically coming to you live on TV screens around the dining room to talk to you about the quantum core. And quantum core is this piece of technology that allows them to shrink objects down or make them bigger. And there's going to be a lot of things that go on throughout your dining experience. And you get to be a part of it because you're going to click a button on the quantum core that is on your table. And then at the end, spoiler alert, Ant-Man and the Wasp are going to come out and walk around the dining room. So the menu here is going to be inspired by a lot of different MCU locations. So Wakanda, New York, of course, Eastern European Sokovia, all different places like that. So I think you and I had different experiences with this restaurant. I'll let you share yours first, and then I'll share my thoughts on it.
Okay, I'll start with saying the food was fine. There was nothing wrong with the food portion of the dinner. And this is probably why I gave the Wish a 4.5 rather than a 5, because I really did not like this experience too much. And part of that was it was just way too long. I felt that there were certain cues that had to happen before different parts of your meal came out. Like Kelly mentioned, it's a multiple. It's not just one dish. You're getting multiple dishes brought out to you. So there, you'd have to basically wait till everyone finished a portion of their meal. Then there'd be the next part of the story that came out, and then your next dish would come out, and that just leads to a really long dining experience. I think we were in there for almost 2.5 hours the first time we were there.
Yeah.
So it takes a really long time. I am a huge Marvel fan, and I thought the storyline was a little confusing. So just it was by no means a bad experience at all. You should definitely do it and see if I'm the crazy one here, or if the it is a little bit confused and long. But again, as I mentioned in the beginning, the food was still great. You're not going to have a bad dining experience in terms of the food on any Disney ship. It's going to be great across the board. So just keep that in mind and know that if you're in the late dining, you're probably going to be headed to bed right after this, because it will take a while and you'll be very full and tired after.
I'm like, oh, I have so many things to to say. The first thing is that we are old, like we are just old souls, and by 10 o'clock, honestly, 10 o'clock's pushing it. By like 9 o'clock, Pat on a cruise is like, I want to go to bed. So
Goes back to that I eat multiple things at every place, so I'm just full and tired.
yeah, he's full and tired, and like the rocking of the ship, like we actually get like really good night sleeps. But anyway, that is just just an aside because there's super fun stuff to do at night too. Um, but yes, I think that that is the kind of complaint that a lot of people have about Worlds of Marvel is the way that the story line kind of is, put into your dining experience. You're held to, in 1923, it's kind of like you eat at your own pace, and you're just kind of waiting if like your serving team is helping another table or something like that. Worlds of Marvel is very much paced based on the storyline that they're trying to tell. So you kind of have to work with that. And then it also is a pretty tight dining room. So your tables are pretty close together. And it can be a little loud in there just because of the amount of movement that's going on and things that are happening. But I think I really enjoyed the food in this one. I think that it also just shows kind of like, their use of technology. And I thought it was a really cute storyline. I mean, this one I think is really more for the kids even than Arendelle is. I don't know if that makes complete sense. But this felt a little like it's Ant-Man and the Wasp, so it's kind of that like goofy humor. But it's cute. It's I think you're right, like Pat, when you say like do it and see how if you like it. And then you kind of go from there. But I'm looking forward to trying this one again because I've done it 3 times now that gone on the Wish, and I've only done it once because you were like, I'm not going back there the last time, so we went to PALO. And then when I went with
Oh
my
no, not
sister,
that.
we did we did Shante. So that was very nice though. Don't get me wrong. I had really great experiences at both of them. Um, but I have to grab our little puppy here because he's being a little devil. So Pat, do you want to talk a little bit about the adult dining experiences that are available on the
Sure.
cruise?
Yeah, sure. So there's two different experiences that are for adults only, and you must be 18 plus for both of these experiences. The first one is PALO Steakhouse. Hi, Anakin. and it's named after the long poles that are used in the gondoliers in Venice. And it is an adult exclusive restaurant serving Italian fare, and it's a small, intimate setting, and with really great views of the sunset if you're dining at the right time. It has windows going off the back of the ship so you can see into the horizon. It definitely requires advanced reservations. So when does was it 60 days out on this dining?
So these are going to start at 90 days out for any of the cruise line reservations that can be made for onboard dining, excursions, as well as anything, kind of those enhancements that you can do. But if you're a Castaway Club member, you'll get additional days out. So just search, if you are a Castaway Club member, search for what that those numbers are, because I think for us, it's like, we're like 105 days out or something like that we can book.
Right. And then just a note here, there is a dress code. So unlike some of the other dining experiences on the ship, it is required that you are dressed appropriately. I learned this the hard way. I forgot to pack a pair of slacks for this dining, and they actually had to bring me a pair of pants because they would not let me in shorts. It was very embarrassing, so don't do that. Be better than me and bring the appropriate clothes to your cruise.
So I don't even think I told you this, Pat, but we went to PALO for dinner when this happened to Pat. And I honestly, I just felt like I took the blame for this one. Like I rightfully took the blame because this is not like Pat. If you don't know him, he is a shorts guy. Like if Pat could wear shorts every day of his life, he'd be much happier. And I didn't tell him like, hey, you need to pack a pair of slacks or anything.
I feel
So
like I
I
should
think
know
I
to
take
bring a pair of
responsibility.
long pants.
I mean, this is nice, so this is the argument that we get to have. But so it was fine. They just tell you like, hey, sir, you can't come in here with those shorts. And they'll get you a pair of pants. But the thing that I don't know if I had told you or not yet was we did this for dinner for PALO. PALO also does a brunch, which is like everyone loves their brunch. They've now changed the dress code for brunch, and you can wear shorts as a male.
Wow.
I know you're like, well, maybe
They
I'll go
must
to
have got
brunch
my
now.
letters.
um, so they do need to be like nice shorts. It can't be like,
Yeah.
jorts that you created on your own cutoffs. But yes, that's the dress code is enforced for both PALO as well as Enchante. And PALO is across every different Disney cruise ship that we have. But on this one, it is a steakhouse. So it's just a little bit different in terms of what's served there. All right. So we did do PALO. I've done French for PALO on the Wish. And I mean, 10 out of 10 would recommend a PALO every time. It's reasonably priced. It is going to be an additional cost. But I think that it was like, must have been about $100 for both of us.
Yeah.
And that included wine, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't terribly expensive, and with this, like you're also foregoing one of your dining options for this, so that does help them keep the price of this down. So definitely take advantage of it if you can. And if you can't get a reservation prior to coming, definitely go to the lounge in the like when you board the ship, and you can see if there's additional availability. That's actually how we did it the last time. So definitely check it out. If you don't get a reservation ahead of time, they might still be able to get you in. So don't lose hope. You probably can get a reservation.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to get the reservation if you're not able to get it in advance. And we've been able to be accommodated twice now for PALO, and then when my sister and I did Enchante. So we'll talk about that one next. Enchante I'm not going to say this name correctly, but it's Chef Onard Lelemont. I'm just definitely butchering that name, so I apologize. But he is a Michelin star chef, and he created the menu. It employs different seasonal flavors from around the world. So the menu will change from throughout seasons. But the space is all inspired by Beauty and the Beast, Shante. And it kind of is, it's very high class. So it's kind of like you go in and there's just the smallest of elements of Beauty and the Beast. But the space itself is gorgeous, very small. It's extremely intimate setting. And they do also offer a champagne brunch and then just desserts. So it's like a dessert type of dining experience. But when you do this, it's going to be, there's a prefixed menu. I think it was about $125 per person. And there's a couple different options that you can do. It was one of the best dining experiences that I've ever had. My sister has celiac. So she cannot eat gluten. Gluten cannot touch anything. She's highly, I guess it'd be allergic, or, whatever the correct term is. But this was the first time that we went somewhere, and I eat gluten, so I don't have to worry about that. But we both got we ordered the same meal, the prefix menu, and her meal was exactly the same as mine. It just didn't have gluten in it, but it wasn't like she had to miss out on things because she had this the sensitivity allergy that she had to be worried about. So it took so much like stress off of her and was just so nice. So I will scream from the rooftops how much I love Enchante. And there is a dress code required. They're highly, highly recommend advanced reservations. And this, as well as PALO, is adult only dining. So you do have to be 18 or up to experience it. Yeah, so Pat, sorry you missed out on that one, but maybe
It's
next
okay.
time.
I didn't have long pants for that one either, so.
Yes. All right. So our two other dining locations that we have on the ship are not really truly dining locations, but they're kind of more experiences. The first one is one that you and I have not experienced, and they won't allow us to experience. Don't get it, but this is for little ones. It's Olaf's Royal Picnic. So additional cost to take part in this. It's going to be a kind of highly themed lunchtime experience. It's a picnic in Arendelle Castle is the theming, and Olaf, Kristoff, Anna, and Elsa will come out and see the individuals that are dining there. So this is something that parents can do with their children, and advanced reservations are required for this as well. Joyful Sweets, do you want to talk about that one a little bit, Pat?
Sure, yeah. Joyful Sweets is a candy shop right outside of Marceline Market. It's inspired by Disney and Pixar's Inside Out. It is an additional cost, so nothing in there is included in your dining package, but I would definitely recommend checking it out. There's a lot of really good things like ice cream and some other interesting looking things that I haven't tried all of them, but they do have like some signature treats, including like a candy chocolate filled memory orb, and colorful cupcakes, and a lot of other really good treats in there. So definitely check it out. Even if you just go pop your head in and look at all the offerings they have. That's what we did the first time. And then we obviously decided to come back a second time and buy some stuff. But it was really cool to look at, and everything we had in there was really good.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things that we did on our second sailing on the Wish. The last night we went and got gelato from there, and then we just sat and there's something called Funnel Vision on Disney cruises, and basically there's this big TV that's over usually like the main pool. And they play Disney movies throughout the day. And it's one of my favorite things on Disney cruises because you just walk through that area and it's like, oh, they're playing Alice in Wonderland or, Zootopia or whatever it may be. And we sat in like the beach chairs that they have there and we watched Big Hero 6 and ate our gelato. And it was like, I don't know, it's just such a fun thing to do. So totally worth the $10 that we spent or whatever it was in addition for that.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was that much. It was very reasonably cost for
Yeah,
reasonably priced for what we got out of it.
yeah, definitely. So let's actually jump over. We're gonna jump away from food and drinks and all that for a little bit of a breather. Let's talk about the shows that are on the Disney Wish. So on each Disney cruise on a cruise ship, there's going to be three different shows. Those are kind of like their main stage shows, and these are the shows that you'll go to either before or after dinner each evening. With a 3 or 4 night cruise, the way that it's going to work is your 3 night cruise, you're going to have a main stage show every night of the cruise. For a 4 night, it's usually like they'll have a movie that they show. And if you're on a 7 night or longer, they'll have other acts that come in. So when we were on the Dream for 7 nights, they had like I think they had a juggler that was there. They
And
had
a juggler magic
um,
show, yeah.
yeah, a comedian. Like there's different things the different people that will kind of come in and different performances. So with the Wish, though, the first night is going to be Seize the Adventure, which we absolutely love this show. And it's an original show that they created for the Wish. It's about a half hour long, and it kind of tells the story of Goofy seizing this opportunity to become the captain of the ship. If you know that Minnie is actually the captain of the Wish, so she kind of lets Goofy take the helm there. And then it goes through and it's like a roundup of a bunch of different Disney songs, and the characters come out and sing it. And I think, I mean, you really enjoyed this one too, right, Pat?
Yeah, and having been on other cruise lines, I think this is just something that Disney does a step above. This was more like a Broadway style show, and I think the people involved in the show were more Broadway quality than some of the other cruise lines. So definitely, if you're going on a Disney ship, even if it's not the Wish, definitely check out all of the shows they have to offer because uh, they're not low quality cruise ships. They're really high quality productions, and you should definitely spend the time to check them out. They're included in your cost of cruising anyway, so um, definitely check them out.
Yeah, I could not agree more. We grew up in New Jersey. I've been very, very lucky to go to many Broadway shows in my life, and I can say that it's like I won't say it's Broadway. I know they
It's
say it's
Broadway
Broadway
style.
style. Yeah, but it really, I mean, these performers are incredible. And like you think about it, just I, that they're doing this on a cruise ship too is really awesome because it's not like they have all this room for fly-ins and like all these different things. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I love CC Adventure. I think it's so cute, and just really well done, especially for a brand new show for the Wish. So the second show is the retelling of The Little Mermaid. And this is also a brand new show for the Wish that debuted when the Wish started sailing. Um, this one is a little bit different of than like the movie The Little Mermaid or even the live action Little Mermaid. But it's really well done, great effects, and so I've seen it now the 3 times that we've been on it, and they've made some changes to it, which I thought were really it really elevated the performance. So I think, or you know what, I saw it twice because I think our second time we wound up doing something else that evening. And I said to you when I came back after the third one that I was like, we need to go back and see that again next time we're on because the changes that they made were just totally like stepped it up. It was really great. All right, so then the third one, the final show is going to be Aladdin, and this is not specific to the Wish. This is also performed on another ship as well. But I love this one. I think this one is my favorite out of all three. You literally see them on a magic carpet. And Pat, what was your thoughts on this one?
It was interesting. This one was a little bit different than some of the other ones. The genie breaks the fourth wall a lot and talks directly to the audience, which is always fun. And he makes a lot of jokes that are like really like almost time based, so they must update his lines like all the time because he was making like jokes about something that happened like a few weeks before. So yeah, very, very funny. Probably a little bit less production value on this show, but it still was a great time and would highly recommend you go to it.
Oh, I disagree. I think there's totally production value on this show. I honestly,
That
I
might
think that
speak
this
to
one,
how great the production value was on the other shows.
so what you mean like on Little Mermaid or the other shows that we've seen on other ships?
No, did the other shows on the Wish.
Okay. Yeah. I would say that the Aladdin and Little Mermaid have the higher production value. They are also going to be hour-long shows. And they're really more the Broadway style. Seize the Adventure is going to be more of kind of like it's more of just like a stage show kind of thing that you might see at like a Disney park, or something like that. So, but I don't know. This is where we differ, I think, in our thoughts on Aladdin. Um, but all right. So other entertainment that there is to do on the ship is going to be similar to entertainment that would be on other Disney cruise line ships, I should say. So there's going to be trivia, there's bingo, which is always a crowd pleaser, karaoke, character meet and greets, and just a ton of different things like that. And best place to look at that is going to be on the Navigator app. So Disney Cruise Line's Navigator app is an app that you should definitely download once you've booked your trip. You'll go ahead and you'll put in your confirmation number, and then that's where you'll actually be able to make all those pre-cruise bookings for, PALO, if you want to book for the spa, things like that. That will all be made through there. And then once you get onto the ship, then that's where you'll be able to see the daily itinerary. So it will show, what movies are playing in the movie theater that's on board, what time is a Marvel trivia in Keg and Compass, or all these different things that are going on throughout the day that will all be in there. Um, any entertainment that I missed, Pat?
I don't know if it's entertainment per se, but we do have all of the different tastings that would be an additional cost too. So one of our favorite things to do on any Disney ship is there's probably 6 or 7 different offerings of tastings, including like wine tasting, champagne tasting. I know there was a rum one that we didn't care for. We're not big rum people, but there's something for everyone on there, and we've done some really fun ones, including what we did the mojito tasting where we made like
Mm-hmm.
6 different kinds of mojitos, and I found a new favorite drink. So definitely check those out too. Those are available to book out, same as like as PALO. They're 90 days for standard, and then further out if you are Castaway member.
Yeah, yeah, good call on that. That's something that we, like you said, really enjoy. I think the other thing that we really enjoy is the spa on the cruise. We do take it upon ourselves to try out every spa on every cruise that we go on. And the Wish is definitely one that I enjoy a lot. They have really great spa services. There's the Tangled Salon. There's also Hooks Barbary, which super cool. Hooks Barbary has a whiskey bar in it. So I feel like next time we go, you have to do that, Pat, just because I don't like whiskey, but I feel like you just need to try it.
Just forget to get my
And
haircut before, and then I'll have to go in.
yeah,
Force me in.
yeah, force you. And then part of the spa is also the rainforest room, which I have to laugh because if anyone who's listening is a Stranger Things fan, Pat often calls this the rainbow room, like in Stranger Things.
Not
So
intentionally,
just
but I
so
do.
yeah. But the rainforest room on the Wish, all of the different cruise ships do have some type of rainforest room, but they're all done a little bit differently. So the Wish is basically you can purchase uh like a pass to go in. When we went, it was just for the entire length of your cruise, but I've heard recently that you can do it per day now, so it's something that you can kind of get access to. And in there there's like the stone chairs, those heated stone chairs, which are our favorite thing in the world. There's different like there's a sauna, there's an outdoor area, on the Wish that you can go into. Kind of has like jacuzzis, things like that. So something to check out if you want kind of an adult exclusive area that is very quiet, and is going to have those extra amenities that the other adult only areas won't have, because there are adult only pool decks too that you can check out.
Right. And if you have done, I now I'm really conscious of not saying Rainbow Room. If you have done the Rainforest Room on a different ship, I will say the Wish is substantially larger. Kelly mentioned that outdoor area. That is like a huge space, and I think there's like 3 jacuzzis in there. So
Mhm.
there is definitely a lot more room than in some of the other ships, and probably more of each thing that you're looking for. I think that on the Magic, there's maybe only like 4 or 5 of those stone chairs that you mentioned that get heated. The Wish had substantially more and just a lot more room, so you don't feel quite as crowded as you might on some of the other ships.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And makes it, I think, more worth the cost that because it's not super cheap. I think when we did it, it might have been like $200 for 4 days
Mhm.
per person. So but we took advantage of it every day. We went in at some point. We definitely got our money's worth.
I
So
read an entire book on that cruise, so we
yes.
used those stone chairs to the max.
Yeah. So that's something that we love to do, is we love to read on cruises and basically just take advantage of the space that's on deck, on the pool deck areas, just to kind of like lay on the chairs and get a drink and read our books. But let's talk about the pools, because this is a really big part of a lot of people's vacations. We're the ones reading with, like, our sunscreen on and our hats on, but for all the regular people out there, um, the pools on the Wish are going to be a bit different than what you might have experienced if you've been on any of the other Disney Cruise Line ships. So there's going to be a lot more pools, but they're going to be smaller. So there's Mickey's pool, which is the largest pool, and that's located in front of Funnel Vision. So that's that big screen that I talked about where they play Disney movies throughout the day. Minnie's pool is going to be the second largest, and you can also still view Funnel Vision from here. Then Daisy's pool is going to be a shallow pool, about 2 feet deep. Same thing with Pluto's pool, and all 4 of these pools that we just talked about are on deck 11. So that's kind of that main area where Marceline Market is located. You have Mickey and Friends uh, Festival of Foods. Kind of a lot of things are around there. So it's a good spot, especially if you're a family and you want to just kind of post up there. You can watch movies, check out the pool, and grab something to eat. Um, Deck 12, as we go up to that area there, that's going to have Donald's pool and Goofy's pool. So these are the deepest pools at 4 feet deep. And then Chip and Dale's pool is on deck 14. It's more quiet and secluded. This is the one that we like to sit at, Pat. And it's open to families. So I think a lot of people think that it's an adult only area. It's not. You can go over there with children of any age, but just do be aware that there are obviously requirements in terms of children being, potty trained and things like that being in pools. And the last pool is going to be the quiet Cove pool. So this is on deck 13, and this is the adult only infinity pool. Such a nice area over there. The infinity pool is kind of right in front of where the Cove bar is. So you can grab a drink. You're, kind of looking out onto, like, it's the infinity pool, so it looks out like onto the edge of the ship. Just a super, super nice way to spend a day. Um, and then there's the splash zone and the aqua mouse. So the splash zone is going to be for the littlest ones. It's basically like a play area on deck 12, and it's for children up to ages 6, up to 6 years old. But nice area there too, where there's kind of like a bar that if mom and dad want to grab a drink and just grab some place to sit while the kids are playing in there, you have great view of where your kids are. And last piece is the Aqua Mouse, and this is totally your thing, Pat. So I got to let you talk about the Aqua Mouse.
Yeah, the Aqua Mouse was a pleasant surprise on the ship. So I didn't really fully know what it was before I got there. I heard that there is a like water water roller coaster type thing on the ship, and I was like, what is that about? So we did go on the Aquamouse. It is kind of like a roller coaster. It's actually you're on like a little raft that you go up a lift hill, and then in that lift hill they're telling you a little story, and then you go through the slide, obviously. It was really fun. I would definitely recommend everyone try it if your little ones are old enough and tall enough to get on it. There's a minimum height requirement of 42 inches. So if you do have kids that are tall enough, definitely go on it. It's very fun. Um, I would definitely recommend you try and do this on a day where people are getting off the ship. So um, our ship, our ports were the Bahamas and then Castaway Key. Castaway Key, we were able to basically walk right on and not have to wait in line. On the other days, the lines do get really long. There were lines that were looking like they were probably about an hour long. There's a limited amount of rafts that they can get on there at a given time, just given that it is a pool and you don't want, rafts to be running into each other. So the line does get pretty long, but if you are able to, get back to the ship early on a castaway day or get out there before you go and embark out to castaway, definitely try to do that at that time. You'll save a lot of time and not have to wait in line. But it was a really, really fun ride, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. So the cool part, I mean, all of it is cool, but I think the other piece that I thought was really awesome with it is there's basically as you're going up this lift hill, there's screens that are kind of in this tunnel that you're going through. And the screens will show you I think there's two different adventures that you can
Hmm.
basically get. And with like things that are happening, there's water spraying or, just different elements are kind of happening around you, and it's so well done, and it really is like an attraction at sea.
Yeah.
But definitely pro tip is to go out early and hit castaway that day and then come back, and go and hit the aqua mouse, because you like you said, like you will save so much time waiting in line, doing it that way.
Yeah, we were able to ride it like 4 or 5 times, like back to back, until we got too much water up our noses, and then we stopped. But yeah, it's definitely a lot better to do it on a castaway day when less people are on the ship.
Yeah, I think you would have kept riding it. I'm like,
Probably
okay,
would have.
I'm starting to feel the motion now, so I'm off of it, and I didn't feel like I was off of it. Um, but yes, so that is a really cool part of the ship. It's so much different than like a regular water slide. Like it's not a
Mhm.
water slide. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the kids clubs. These are some of the coolest spaces that are on the ship. Obviously, we don't have children, so we don't have, kids that are going into the kids clubs. But it's something that we always do is check these spaces out during the open house hours, because they're just so well done. And I constantly am like, God, when I was a kid, I did not want to do this. Granted, what it was when, now probably 22 years ago is very different than what is on the Wish. But anyway, I rest my case. I should have taken advantage of it then. So let's go through the different ones that there are. But the first one is going to be for the youngest kids. This is for ages 6 months to 3 years old. And this is the It's a Small World Nursery. So this is the only kind of youth area that there is an additional cost for. It's pretty minimal. I think it's about a $10 hourly charge for babysitting in this location. And this location does require reservations. So you can make those reservations in advance through the app. And you also, if there is availability, you can make it when you're on the ship. But this is a nice thing to take advantage of if, you do have a little one and you want to go to PALO, or Enchante. This is, something that you can kind of set up to allow that to happen. Um, the Disney Oceaneer Club. So this is ages 3 to 10, and they're going to have a bunch of different spaces to explore. So there's Fairy Tale Hall, which is kind of all princess themed. There's the Walt Disney Imagineering Lab, which is the coolest thing ever. You can make a roller coaster. ride, and it's like a simulator that you go on. There's Marvel Superhero Academy and Star Wars Cargo Bay. And there's also Mickey and Minnie's Captain's Deck, which is kind of like for the little ones over there, but just like super immersive spaces. And Pat, I mean, I think I'm always like I love all that stuff, but I kind of always look to Pat to be my like, my baseline of like, okay, this is cool, or like you're just a Disney freak. So where am I just a Disney freak, or like where do I land on this?
No, it was really cool, and especially like the Star Wars Cargo Bay and the Marvel Superhero Academy were both really cool spaces that I wish I didn't have to be a child to be in. They were really fun. I mean, the roller coaster simulator, you've got me hooked with that. So I think there was a lot of activities that are really good for children that age, and they'll have fun. And I think that's something that's so important is if you are putting, you're gonna have your kids at the Oceaneers Club, you want them to want to be there and not force them to be somewhere where they don't want to be. So um, everyone in there looked like they were having a really, really good time. So uh, definitely seems like a really good space and um, a fun time for the kids.
Yeah, I think you're right that it's like you don't want to be, yeah, I don't know, you don't want to like we're saying this as people that don't have children, don't have human children, Anakin, don't worry. But it's obviously like this is vacation for you, this is vacation for your children. So you want it to be fun for everybody. And I think like the way that Disney has it set up is so nice that you can confidently leave your children, if they want to and you want to, you have that option. But it's also something that you don't have to do if you don't want to either. There are some experiences like character meet and greets that will take place in Star Wars Cargo Bay or the Marvel Superhero Academy. So if you're an adult and you want to go meet Ray and Chewie, you can do that during those times. But normally the kids clubs are going to be only open to kids within those age ranges. And then, of course, there's always going to be the Disney cast members that are spending time in there. So they're the kind of the entertainment staff that works with the kids within those areas. The way that this works too is that each child will basically have like a magic band that they can use to tap in. And for certain ages, so Oceaneers Club, they're not allowed to kind of leave on their own, come and go as they like. A parent does need to come pick them up. Whereas the next two areas that we'll talk about, those are going to be a little bit more lax in terms of kids going in and out because they're going to be for the older kids. So Edge and Vibe. Edge is going to be for ages 11 to 14, and it's going to be a space kind of inspired by like a New York City loft apartment. And it's not going to have as much of the like Disney elements where it's, Star Wars Cargo Bay or things like that. It's really more like there's a bunch of different spaces that kids can play board games or video games, and there's still going to be some of these uh, specific entertainment options for them. Like, there might be a card game time or things like that. I'm trying to think about the exact examples that they have, but there's going to be special activities for children within those age groups within the clubs as well. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Pat. I
and
think I
it,
was going
it
to cut you
looked
off there.
yeah, and it looked like, I mean, a lot of the space there was a lot of opportunity for kids to play video games, and I think that's what we saw a lot of the kids doing in both Edge and Vibe, which is the next for ages 14 to 17. There were a lot of kids playing video games, and it was nice because they weren't all playing by themselves. They were actually all like playing in a little group. So a little bit more interaction than just playing video games at home, but still something that they want to do on their vacation as well.
Yeah, and when we walked into Vibe, which, like you said, is the kind of the older kids, it's gonna be 14 to 17. It's supposed to look like an artist loft in Paris. It really is just like it's a space for kids to hang out, and I shouldn't even say kids, I should say teens. Um, so it's really just more like there's a bunch of couches and there's areas like big screens for video games. So it's not going to be the really structured activities that you would have in the Oceaneers Club for the younger kids. So I think, when we've been in there for the open house times, it is really nice because you're seeing kids that are just kind of hanging out and like playing video games together, or like, having it, just like hanging out and talking or things like that. So I think they've done a really good job at making these spaces that the age groups really want to be in, and not just being like, okay, here's a room where all kids can go in and like, you know,
Yeah.
have fun, do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and it was nice too because as the age groups get older and older, the theming kind of from the Disney theming has kind of gone away. So in
Yeah.
Vibe for the oldest kids, there's really not any like Disney stuff in there, in terms of like the decoration and everything. So you go from in the Oceaneering Club where you have like this very immersive Star Wars and Marvel spaces down to just really more like just a calm place to hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. It like it grows up with them as,
Hmm.
they grow up. And there are like a couple very tiny Disney elements, but it's like cool art or like something like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, it's really, really neat when you get to see that way of how they really did create it with who was going to be in these spaces in mind. The other piece that is kind of a kids area, kind of not, it's really kind of open to everyone, is the hero zone. So there is basically like a sports courts that are inside, and there's like some foosball tables, ping pong tables, things like this. And so for me, I am, if you can't tell, I am not an athletic person, totally not my thing. But I remember we went in here and you were like, oh my God, I would have loved this as a kid. And I was like, oh my God, why? Like, what? They're just bouncing a ball. Like, what? And you were just like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, there was like a full basketball court back there. The foosball, there's a lot of stuff and a lot of people playing in multiple age groups. There were, the old dads playing, and then there was like the game of the younger kids playing. So definitely a lot to do for people of all ages, and it seemed like everyone kind of was playing somewhat together, and it looked like a really fun time.
Yeah. So definitely something for everyone, because then we would walk down the hallway and you would see like Daisy Duck was meeting, and I was excited about that, even as a 30 something. So there's lots and lots of things to do, but character meet and greets, like I mentioned before, they kind of happen throughout the ship. But you can check out what characters are going to be where at what time through the Navigator app. The only kind of caveat to that is the Princess Gathering. So there is a Princess Gathering that takes place, I think it's usually twice throughout the cruise, and that does require advanced reservations. So it is a complimentary experience. It's not something that you have to pay extra for, but you do need to get a reservation for it. So that is going to open 30 days out. Basically, 30 days out is when you're able to, for majority of guests, that's when you're going to be able to do your online check-in. If you're a Castaway Club member, you can do it further in advance. But you'll basically select your online, when you're going to be getting onto the cruise, your boarding group, and then at that time you can also make your reservation for the Princess Gathering. And there's 4 different princesses that you get the chance to meet. So something to think about. That is something that the reservations will book up very quickly. Extremely popular to do. All right, so I think the only thing that we haven't really touched on yet is probably our favorite part, the bars and lounges. So should we close it out with a little discussion about those?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So there are a bunch of bars and lounges on the Wish. So we'll go through some, and we'll go through all of them, but we're going to talk the most about our favorites, I think. So the first one is going to be called Preludes, and Preludes, if you've been on other Disney cruise lines, cruise ships, you're like, oh, I know what Preludes is. It's going to be located on deck 3 forward, so on both sides of the Walt Disney Theater. Walt Disney Theater is where the main stage is, where you're going to see the Adventure, Little Mermaid, and Aladdin. And basically, you can grab your drink and your popcorn before you head into the show at Preludes. The next one is going to be the Bayou. So this is a different space than we've seen on any other ships. It's inspired by Princess and the Frog. It's located on center of deck 3. And it's an open space. So basically, the only like delineation is the bar space and kind of where the stage is here, because this is one that has some live music performed, but then it's kind of in the middle of two walkways. So Pat, what were your thoughts on the Bayou?
Yeah, it was very different feeling. Like you said, it wasn't its own space. It was like kind of open air. So from that standpoint, it felt different, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It was like a nice place where you can just kind of get up, grab a drink, and go. Or like you said, there was live music happening at different points where you could sit and watch. Um, they also have the beignets there, so definitely something you should stop it and try and grab. Um, but yeah, it was good. It's interesting, but I think it was a good use of the space that was there. I mean, were you going to put walls up and make it feel a little bit more claustrophobic? I don't think that would have been the right choice. So leaving it kind of open air was probably the best thing they could do in that space.
Yeah, and it is a beautiful space.
Mhm.
The ceilings are basically all covered with this like ivy and lights. Like you know, it's supposed to feel like you're out in the bayou, right? Excuse me. So just a note with that too, with any of these bars, any of the food that you purchase that you order here is going to be an additional cost. So the beignets are very low cost. I think it was like $3 for, you know, a couple beignets, but it is an additional cost. So just be aware of that when you do order something. But you can order coffee from here too. So this is going to be one of those locations that will be open in the morning for coffee as well, for specialty coffees. My favorite bar, well, I've got a tie for two, but this is one of my favorite bars, the Star Wars Hyperspace Lounge. Deck three, located kind of right across from the Bayou. And it's styled like a kind of luxurious star cruiser. It's really based on Dryden Voss's space yacht called First Light from Han Solo. So if you've seen that movie, that's kind of the same vibe of it. It's not supposed to be like the grittiness of like, you know, the Millennium Falcon or anything like that. But it's going to be more of this like upscale, like you're in a, you know, you're in this Star Cruiser yacht. Um, I absolutely love this space. I think it's so cool. You have windows that are TV screens, pretty much, and you go into hyperspace about every, is it like every 7 minutes or so, Pat?
Something like 7 or 8 minutes, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and each time you go into hyperspace, you come out at a different location. So there's times where you can literally see the Star Cruiser, RIP. There are, you know, you see different planets. There's just different elements that you can be watching. So if you are a Star Wars fan, it is a must do. And I also highly recommend getting the Skywalker Vineyards wine flight that you can there.
Yeah, and I think that you also have to go into this with the right expectations. Don't expect this to be Star Wars, right? Like this is not, you're not going to go in there and, see Chewie and Han and like this is separate from that whole adventure. Like it is based, like you said, based off of like a luxurious yacht happening at the same time. So don't go in there and expect it to be themed like you're gonna go hang out with Chewie. Like it is very upscale experience. Um,
Yeah, it's not Oga's Cantina.
yeah,
I
exactly.
think, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. From that, I like this bar a lot. There was a lot of really great mixed drinks on there. The one thing I will say is the beer selection is not great. They have two beers on draft and they're like on opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of what they are. One is like a really thick and heavy uh why am I
Is it a
blanking on the
stout?
yeah, thank you. It's like
Yeah.
a thick and heavy stout, and it's like a 22-ounce pour. So you have this big goblet of either this really heavy stout or a really, really sour beer. Um, so if you're not a big beer person, I probably wouldn't order beer from here unless you really like a sour or you really like a stout. Um, but all of the mixed drinks we had were fantastic. We probably had between the two of us, we probably had a cup, probably 4 or 5 of the ones off the menu. So um, they were all really good. And like you said, the wine flight was definitely good. All of the wines on there are terrific.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say I like the sour beer, but I like sour beer. But I agree with you. I think that would be nice if they kind of had like a lager or a pilsner, kind of like more of a basic, you know,
Even if they did it and they
commonly enjoyed.
dyed it a different color so it looked fun, like that would be cool too.
Yeah. I'm just like they need to I love the Skywalker wine, obviously. I think that's great. And it's I mean, so much better than the wine that I'm gonna say, but the Tonneray Chardonnay, if you've had it in Oga's Cantina, I love that drink. So I'm
And
like,
it's
if they could
blue.
just bring that, that'd be great. Yeah, and it's blue. But we could talk all about Star Wars forever. But we'll go on to the next bar. Nightingales. Pat, do you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, sure. Nightingales is the piano bar. It's inspired by Cinderella. So very upscale, very nice looking. And it actually like looks right into the atrium. So really good view if you're uh, hanging out watching some of the characters walk through or do pictures there. You have a really good spot to view all of that going on. This is where they have the wine and champagne tastings. So this is a little bit smaller of a space. There's not a ton of tables in there, so definitely try and get there a little bit earlier than you might think you need to. Um, but this was a really great spot. And we had a couple. Uh, we did both on different cruises. We did both the wine and the champagne tasting. Um, Definitely cannot recommend either of those enough. Um, I feel like on these cruises and during in particular during the wine tasting, I learned so much about how to pretend like I know what I'm doing when I'm tasting wine.
Yes. I like that you're like, we did champagne and wine tasting, but on different cruises, guys, on different cruises. Um, we normally like to do one of the tastings on our cruises because we really enjoy them. And like you said, you learn so much from these tastings. If you are, you know, interested in cocktails or beer or whatever it may be, the team that does it is the bar team. So it's the bartenders that are there, and it's so cool. Like you talk to them about this, and you learn a lot about them too throughout these tastings. And then you go back and you know you get a drink later on from the bar, and they're there, and you kind of get to continue the conversation. So definitely recommend it. It's not super high cost to do these. I think it's you know anywhere from like $45 to $100 if you're doing the whiskey tasting. Um, but definitely something to check out. And I will say too, with these, all of the bars are going to have a menu that will be there. And Nightingale's is super heavy on like champagne drinks and more kind of sweeter drinks. So when we went there, the bartender came up to me and he said, you know, what are you looking at? And I was like, oh, I don't know. He's like, well, what kind of drinks do you like? And I said, nothing sweet. And he was like, well, then nothing on the menu for you. So he made me, you know, a gin martini, and they'll always make you kind of, you know, whatever you're looking for. So just so you know, in case you're looking at it and you're like, I do not want to drink champagne right now. You always have options.
Yeah, and there's a couple of these, and Nightingale is one of them, and maybe the Rose is the other one that was really like this. They really make a show out of making your cocktails. Um, it's not it's not exactly the quickest service you're ever gonna get, but it's well worth it because you get to watch them
Yeah.
making the drinks, and they'll usually a lot of times they'll explain what they're doing and they'll interact with everyone at the bar while they're making these drinks, and it just makes it a more fun experience. And I highly recommend if you do have the opportunity to sit at the bar one time and like hear what they're talking about and see what they're saying when they're making your drink, it just really adds to the experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, so next one is Luna's Libations, and this is not going to be like your traditional, excuse me, bar where like you know you can tell and sit down. This is really the bar that's in the back of Luna Theater. So Luna Theater is a space that's used for some entertainment throughout the day for families, and then in the evening it becomes an adult exclusive entertainment uh, area. So this is just kind of a bar on deck floor that you can grab some of your drink from. We do have there's actually three coffee bars. So we'll talk about the coffee bars all together. There's Wishing Star Cafe, Enchanted Sword Cafe, and then there's also the Cove Cafe. So Cove Cafe, if you've been on other Disney cruise ships, that's kind of the one that we all know. It's the adult only area that has an exclusive area for getting specialty coffees, things like that. What's nice about the Wish is if you have someone who's under 18 with you, you can still get specialty coffee now because they created Wishing Star and the Enchanted Sword. So these are located on deck 4 and deck 5 midship, and they're really, really cute areas. And they're just very small, but there's, you know, you can get espresso drinks, you can get all these different kind of coffees. So something to check out if you need that coffee. It is going to be an additional charge, but you can use that coffee card that we talked about. And those will be in midship, and those are not exclusive to adults. So good if you have little ones with you. All right, Keg and Compass, Pat, you want to take this one?
Yeah, Keg and Compass is located on deck 5. It celebrates the stories of sea. So definitely a more like ship feeling bar, which is definitely cool when you're on a ship. This is also where the beer tasting takes place. So this was another fun activity that we like to partake in. And what's interesting about this is that the menu is not always the same for these. It's the person running the beer tasting is actually the one who picks what you're going to be trying. So if you have, you know, different people that are running it, then you might actually get different beers each time you do it. We learned a lot about beer. I mean, we both are people who enjoy, you know, tasting a lot of different beers, and we felt like we learned a lot during this and really tasted some good beer. So can't recommend that enough. But this is more like a pub feel to it. There's a lot on draft here. This is going to be the location on ship with the most options of what's on draft. So if you are a beer fan, definitely check this out. Look into getting the beer mug, which gets you, I think it's 4 ounces more a pour, and they're slightly cheaper if you get this mug, and then you get to keep the mug. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, good call on the beer mug. So that's something that you can purchase at any of the bars. And it's basically, you know, exactly like you said, with the, you get in it's going to be a bigger mug. And you'll get the cost of you know, the regular size for the amount that you have, but you pay for the mug. So I think it's a pretty nominal fee
I
for
think it
the
was like
mug.
$16 or something. Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 20. I think it's like, you know, it's somewhere around that. But then at the each time that you use your mug, you don't have to like carry the mug around with you. They're gonna give you a token that you'll keep that token with you, and then when you go back to the next bar, you give them that token and they'll fill up, you know, that mug that size. And then at the end of the cruise, you can return your token and just say, hey, I want to redeem it for my mug, and you get a, you know, brand new mug that you get to take home with you. So we have the mugs from the Wish, and our friends got them for us when we went on our first Wish cruise, and it was so nice to have too. And you know, they're just nice mugs to have now. So good call on that one. So pool bars, there are going to be a few of them. So the Lookout is the first one. This is on deck 11, and it's just going to be a small kind of walk-up bar area right by Mickey and Friends Festival of Foods. And then there's going to be several pool bars that are also on deck 11, and this is going to be a good spot if you want to get like a ice bag, basically, or not an ice bag, but like a cooler bag that you can take on to Castaway with you. You can do that there and grab your drinks there as well. And then there's Currents, which is kind of overlooking Toy Story Splash Zone. So this is a good one if you have kids on, you know, that are going to be in this area. If, you know, mom wants to go grab a drink in deck 14 and bring it back for dad and grandma and grandpa, you can do that really easily while, you know, someone's keeping an eye on the kids there. And there's a lot of nice seating areas there too. And then the other kind of pool bar area is not really a bar. It's called Weezy's Freezies. And it's Weezy is the little penguin from Toy Story. And I went like I did that that weird hand motion
He's
because
holding a
that's
microphone. Yeah.
he's holding, yes. And you squeeze him and he's supposed to make little sounds, but he's wheezy. So, that's, he needs to get his little squeaker fixed. So anyway, but he's from Toy Story, if you didn't know. So he's on, Weezy's Freezies is on deck 12, by Toy Story Splash Zone. And it's going to have some little like bites that you can purchase there, as well as some non-alcoholic, frozen drinks. So that's a good one if, you want to grab something for the kids, and then you can head over to Currents and grab yourself a drink. There are a couple other bars too in the, on deck 13. So the first one's going to be the Cove bar. So similar kind of pool bar feel, but this is the adult only area. So this is going to be right behind the infinity pool. So we definitely grabbed a cocktail and sat in the infinity pool. I don't think you and I did this. I think me and my sister Robin did this. But we had the best time. It was like the nicest thing. And then it downpoured, but we had a solid half hour of enjoying the infinity pool. And then the Cove Cafe is the last one, which we talked about. But there are some, you can get like wine in the Cove Cafe as well. So the last bar I had to save for you to talk about, Pat. Do you want to take this one?
Yes, this is my favorite bar on the ship. This is on deck 12. This is the Rose. It's inspired by Beauty and the Beast, and it's actually in the entrance to PALO and Enchante. This definitely has the most high class feel of any of the bars on ship. They have probably the best selection of alcohol too, if you're looking for a mixed drink or a proper cocktail. So this was definitely where we sat here for a while watching. I forget was it Freddie that was making drinks at this bar.
Freddie, yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
Freddie.
yeah.
Freddie was our favorite bartender. He was making. He made an old like the house old fashioned for me, and it probably took him like 15 minutes of making this drink. But it was so worth the wait, and like he was not only a bartender, he was an entertainer as well. So this was just such a great experience, and this is not a huge space either. Since I think since it is by the more adult experiences, dining experiences, I think a lot of people don't come up this way, and I think that's a huge mistake because it is again my favorite bar that was on the ship.
Yeah, great space. There's basically it's a very long space. Because like you said, it's like the entrance to Palo and Ashante. So the one hall, or the one wall is going to be the bar area. And then across from that is the end of the ship. So or the side of the ship. And it's all windows. So it's an amazing spot to sit at and kind of watch the ship, leave port. Just being able to be there, and you just sit there with a cocktail in your hand, or a mocktail too. They can make exceptional non-alcoholic drinks as well, and just watch the kind of the water go by. It's really nice. But really really great options for gin in this bar if you are a gin fan. If you're a gin fan, just come to us, let us know, and we'll tell you where all the best gin is. But yeah, we really, really enjoyed this. There's a really cool, I think it's called the Rose drink. So basically it comes out, and my sister Robin got this. But it's this whole, I mean, really, like you said, Pat, they're entertainers. Like it truly is a experience. It like comes out, and it's, in kind of in like the hurricane glass that the rose is in, and then you're given a rose. It's a really cool experience. So highly recommend checking that out if you have not. All right. Did we hit everything?
I think we did.
Okay. So that's kind of our overview of the Wish. Hopefully that is helpful if you are planning on taking a trip aboard the Wish, or if you're thinking about it and you kind of just wanted to learn a little bit more about the ship. If you are thinking about it, be sure to reach out to KMV Travel. All of our information is below, but we can help you, and our assistance is complimentary. And we got to walk through all the different options that there are and make sure that the Wish is the right trip for you. But Pat, thanks for coming on again to episode 2. I feel like, is this going to become, are we dual hosts now of this, or are you not ready to take that, that next step?
See, I think the problem is I don't have I haven't done all the experiences, so I think that might be useless in some of these.
I think what that means is that we need to take more trips. Is that not what you think?
Wasn't what I meant, but I mean, I'm not going to fight you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for watching, listening, and please, if you have not already, subscribe, comment, like, let us know below what you think. If you have a favorite part of the wish, we would love to hear about it below. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you again soon.